Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Skam BBT founder Acharyas, Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. We good? Yeah. It goes 32 to 35. What's on there? 35. What's there? I thought I saw 35 up there. Oh, the verse does not correspond. Well, we'll read 32 then for those people who've got a telephone or app. Huh? Saturday morning, I'm on Saturday morning in different dimension. Okay, that's pretty right there. Okay, we're good. We are reading 32 to 35. So are we all happy with that? I certainly am, because that's what I prepared for. And tomorrow's 36 and 37, I believe. Is that right, or 36? Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Maybe you can just check just to see where it, can you check on the thing there? 32 to what, 35? On the boat? Yeah, good. Krishnera Adarat Krishnera Adaramrita Krishna Gun Charita Sudha Saraswata Vanindana Taraswata Yena Jane Jandian Mailakena Serasana Beke Jiva Sarna Krishnera Adamrita Krishna Gunjarita Sudasaraswada Vindana Tarasvadaye Najane Jamya Namailikene Sevasana Beka Jivasama Madhya. Krishnera of Lord Krishna, Adar Amrita, the nectar of the lips, Krishna of Lord Krishna, Guna, the qualities, Charita, the activities, Sudasara, of the essence of all nectar, Svada, the taste, Vinindana, surpassing, Tara, of that, Svada, the taste, yea, anyone who, Najane, does not know, Janya, taking birth, Namaila, did not die, Kene, why, say, that, Rasana, ton, Beka, of the frog, Jiva, the tongue, Sama, alike. Translation: the nectar from the lips of Lord Krishna and his transcendental qualities and characteristics surpass the taste of the essence of all nectar, and there is no fault in tasting such nectar. If one does not taste it, he should die immediately after birth, and his tongue is to be considered no better than the tongue of a frog. Next verse. One's nostrils are no better than the bellows of a blacksmith. if he has not smelled the fragrance of Krishna's body, which is like the aroma of musk combined with that of the bluish lotus flower. Indeed, such combinations are actually defeated by the aroma of Krishna's body. Text 34. The palms of Krishna's hands and the soles of his feet are so cool and pleasant that they can be compared only to the light of millions of moons. One who has touched such hands and feet has indeed tasted the effects of touchstone. If one has not touched them, his life is spoiled and his body is like iron. Text 35. Lamenting in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened the doors of grief within his heart. Morose, humble and disappointed, he read a verse again and again with a despondent heart. Purport. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the word dainya, humility, is explained as follows. When unhappiness, fearfulness and the sense of having offended combine, one feels condemned. This sense of condemnation is described as dinata, humility. When one is subject to such humility, he feels bodily inactive, he apologizes, and his consciousness is disturbed. His mind is also restless, and many other symptoms are visible. The word nirveda is also explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. One may feel unhappiness and separation, as well as jealousy and lamentation due to not discharging one's duties. The despondency that results is called nirveda. When one is captured by this despondency, thoughts, tears, loss of bodily luster, humility, and heavy breathing result. Vishada is also explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. When one fails to achieve the desired goal of life and repents for all his offences, there is a state of regret called Vishada. The symptoms of Vishada also explain one hankers to revive his original condition and inquires how to do so. There are also deep thought, heavy breathing, crying and lamentation, as well as a changing of bodily colour and drying up of the tongue. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 33, such destructive symptoms are mentioned. They are expressed in words, in the eyebrows and in the eyes. These symptoms are called vibhachara bhava, destructive ecstasy. If they continue, they are sometimes called sanchari or continued ecstasy. Om Agyanat Timarandasya Jananjanat Lakaya Sakuram Militam Jainat Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Durgame Parimindasya Skalapateka Boho Sakripa Yutadandana Santa Santa Avalambanam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gora Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I pray for special mercy of the deities to be able to explain something about these verses there. They're very highly esoteric verses. Coming from the Caitanya Caritamrita, and ask the blessing of all the devotees here for your mercy. So we have to understand that in this chapter, which is called the ecstatic manifestations of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that the author Krishnadas Kaviraj is describing the last 12 years of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life in Jagannath Puri. And in those 12 years, he's like, of course, Lord Chaitanya, he had multi-purposes for his, for coming to this mortal world. One was, of course, to spread the Sankirtan movement, but the other one was he was like a general. He was a general that was disseminating knowledge throughout the whole of India, so therefore in his first 12 years he met the Goswamis, and he told the Goswamis to go to Vrindavan, spread Krishna, find all the, uncover all the holy places in Vrindavan, write all the literatures about Bhakti Yoga, and then he told Lord Nityananda to go and preach in Bengal. And so he's like the great general, and meeting wonderful devotees, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Roy. So, but in the last 12 years, the ecstasy of the separation from Krishna and the mood of Radharani began to manifest in his body. So Krishnadas Kaviraj begins to describe this. His mood was the same as that of Radharani when she was feeling the separation of Krishna after he'd gone to Mathura, and then Krishna sent Uddhava to placate everybody in Vrindavan, particularly the gopis. So Uddhava saw that ecstatic manifestation and the ecstatic symptoms of Radharani, that sort of madness that was constantly exhibited by the state of mind reflecting separation from Krishna. So earlier in this chapter, in ecstatic manifestations, you might remember that we had a very, very, I don't know, for me it was disturbing, but it was very sort of the esoteric moods of Lord Caitanya and the bodily transformations through the intense mood of separation that he was feeling, that Radharani was feeling for Krishna. And these manifestations were only possible for Lord Caitanya himself to exhibit. It was like beyond the mortal frame, or beyond the frame of anything in the material world. So it's said also, it's described that his mind appeared vacant, and there was only hopelessness, disappointment in his words, and he was express his mind in this way. So this is the mood of that sloka, the purport that we just read. His mind was expressed in this way: where is the Lord of my life? Who is playing the... Where is the Lord of my life who is playing the flute? What shall I do now? Where should I go to find the son of Maharaj Nanda? Without the son of Nanda Maharaj, my heart is broken. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj describes, because he heard all this from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and from Rupa, from which Goswami was it again? Where's Krishna Kirtan? We have Rupa Sanatan, Raghunath Das Goswami was there all the time in Jagannath Puri, and he explained to him that he would chant the sloka from Ramananda Roy's drama. He wrote a drama which is called Jagannath Vallabhanataka, and Srimati Radharani would express her distress at being separated from Krishna and the pain inflicted upon her by this separation. So this was the beginning of the 18th sloka in this chapter, and we are continuing on. So we've come to sloka 32, and she begins to describe the state of a body and its ineffectiveness, particularly with regard to the senses. So it's very interesting, because this is also in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Who's read Canto 2 of the Srimad Bhagavatam? Anyone? If you have, you remember about the bellows of the blacksmith, like breathing hot air, right? So the ears are like snake holes. And so similarly, this is here, Radharani is quoting this with respect to all of her senses. So she begins to describe the state of her body in its effectiveness and reasons why this can happen, from the verse before, where in 31, where she states, topics about Krishna like waves of nectar. If such nectar doesn't enter one's ear, sense of hearing, the ear is no better than the whole of a damaged conch shell. Such an ear is created for no purpose. So who's tried to blow on the damaged conch shell and make a noise? Very frustrating. You have to pick another one. So it's no use anymore. Discard, because the conch shell's there for blowing, announcing the glories of the Lord, that we're opening the curtains, Here comes the Lord. So that's a comparison that she makes. Then in this verse that we just discussed at the beginning, 32, she talks about jiva, the tongue. So she describes the taste of nectar from Lord Krishna's lips and his other transcendental qualities, the characteristics which surpass the taste of essence of all nectar. So if one can't taste this, his tongue is to be considered no better than the tongue of a frog. So frog sounds aren't pleasant. We hear them at night all over the place, don't we? So the only thing that a sound of a frog does is to attract his partner, and the that of a snake. So a snake can actually feel the sound through the sound vibration, because the snake, it's actually quite, I'm just thinking here, it's just expressing my realizations, because the ear holes of a snake, they're useless because the snake can't hear. This is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but the snake is very sensitive to sound vibrations. So when the frog starts croaking, it just sort of goes in the direction, and like that, the end of the frog. So ear holes of a snake and the sound of a frog. So then we go on to the bellows of a blacksmith. So what's that concerned with? So bellows of blacksmith. So obscure. So hang on. So so what are the bellows of the blacksmith? The breathing. It's like, who knows what bellows of the blacksmith are? We are like 50 years down the line and nobody uses bellows anymore, right? Yeah, it's the old days. We sort of have a bellow sometimes for our fire, and you pump air like that. So the blacksmith, when he's forging steel, he needs to sort of give a blast of air to sort of brighten up the fire a bit, so that's what he uses, right? So the bellow just lets out all this hot air, right? So it is said that if we don't talk about the pastimes of Krishna with our voice, that our voice is just no better than the bellows of a blacksmith, just letting out a whole lot of air, waste of oxygen. So so then we're talking about the sense of smell. So Krishna is compared by Radharani to the smell of musk. So who knows what musk is? That is a fragrance that comes from the deer, particular, what is it? Sorry? A musk deer. Yeah, it's got a gland. That's right, it's got a gland. Actually, just Indradumna Maharaj, by the by, said that he did acquire some of that musk from a sadhu who gave it to him, because he gets all these wonderful gifts given to him because he's such a great transcendental sage. So he said he keeps a bit of musk for his Jagannath deity, for his Shalagram Shila. So we have the musk and we have the blue lotus. So I looked up blue lotus, but I didn't get much from Wikipedia, but a blue lotus is a very rare. Has anybody smelt a blue lotus, seen a blue lotus? Yes. Really? The closest comparison is sort of one of the blue water lilies, like that. But that's got a... They smell amazing. According to Sadhana Mataji, they smell amazing, and I think I do remember that myself too, right? So that's a reflection of the blue lotus. So Radharani combines both of them. The muscovy and blue lotus, as I said, doesn't even come close to Krishna, right? Because Krishna is all attractive. Yeah. So when we talk about sensual things to do with sight, sound, audio, touch, inevitably we talk about the different elements of nature. We describe the, like the smell is like this, or that, like a lotus, or like a fragrant frangipani or whatever. And we just use nature to describe the ultimate, like feeling that we get in the material world. So, of course, this is Krishna's material creation here, and it's just a reflection of what is there in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world is way beyond what we conceive with our senses, just like we chant in the morning, Chintamani Prakara Sattva Sukalpa Vriksha. So all the stones and the Kalpa Vriksha, the desire, they fulfill your desires, or Chintamani stones turn everything into precious metals. And Chintamani Prakara Sattva Su, we have like the Kalpavriksha trees, who just, you stand under a Kalpavriksha tree and all your desires are fulfilled. There is a few Kalpavriksha trees still left in Mayapur and other places, but in Mayapur there's a couple. There's one at the Sringapali. Anybody stood under the Kalpavriksha tree in the Sringapali? And then there's, of course, the one in Jagannath temple. And so when you stand near those trees, you have to be careful what you wish for, because before you know it, that wish is granted, and sort of it can be overwhelming. I mean, I always try to make a point of it that when I stand near the Kalpavriksha tree, that I just have that desire that I come back again as soon as I can, so that's a pretty sort of safe wish to have. So anyway, that's the spiritual world, Chintamani Prakara Sattva Su. So Krishna Das Kaviraj, he's talking about Krishna's fragrance, and that's stronger than the most beautiful smells in the material world combined together. And like the bellows, like you want to sort of speak about beautiful topics of Krishna which are so refreshing, as opposed to breathing in hot, dirty air from a bellows. Imagine being near a bellows, all air's coming out. Sometimes we feel that, when there's sort of a lot of hot air coming out and roof is just saturated with sort of mundane sound vibrations. Get out of here. So the element of touch, that was there. So the element of touch is like what people experience. So we all like to feel soft things, like the pillow, or someone's caressing someone's hand, caressing our shoulders, or whatever it is, the sort of smoothness of things, the coolness of things. We have all soft parts of our body, like the lips and the soles of the feet. So when our very sensitive soles of the feet walk on that gravel there, we just sort of go ouch, 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 unless we're really conditioned to it. Just like walking down the beach on the rocks, you just sort of, it's almost like you're doing a pantomime there. So it's different sort of degrees of softness that we experience. We have that example in the Srimad Bhagavatam of Hiranyakasipu, the greatest demon that ever existed. So what does Hiranyakasipu mean? Break it down, 2 words, right? Kasipu, what's that? Huh? Soft beds. So in the old days, the brahmacharis, we used to sort of, be real macho. And then if anybody sort of slept in or something, we'd call them a kasipu, you're just a kasipu, And Hiranya was the attraction for gold, right? So Hiranya Kasipu. So, so Lord Caitanya, there's description of Lord Caitanya that was very sort of aware of the sensitivities of the trappings of the sense of touch. And he would sleep on the floor, he would just sleep on the bare floor. And the devotees were very mortified by the fact that he would do that, because his body was so soft. And one point in time they made a really nice sort of mattress for him, stuffed with cotton buds, and a blanket, just a cotton sheet, like in the form of a mattress with all these little cotton buds on it. And he sat down. As soon as he saw it, he said, "What is this? What are you trying to make out of me? Are you trying to make me into a sort of soft grihasta or something like that?" He was really offended. Like, "Don't you understand what I am? I am a sannyasi. I can't lie on these things." And he chastised them for doing that. So they got nowhere, in other words, So what they did, what his servant did, I think it was Gopinath did, I can't remember, correct me if I'm wrong. Govinda. Yeah, sorry, Govinda. So what he did, he got some dried leaves and he put them in between the sheets instead. So Lord Chaitanya accepted that, so he rested on that. So the element of touch. So also with Krishna, what's one of the soft parts of Krishna? Of course, all of Krishna was soft, right? But what was the soft part of Krishna? Does anyone know? That's sort of mentioned in Bhagavatam. Soles of his feet, thank you very much. So said that his soles of feet were so soft that Mother Yasoda would be so mortified that Krishna was going out into the fields and with all these prickles. Actually, there's this prickle bush in Vrindavan, in Yavat, that you go to. It's supposed to be 5,000 years old, right? So you go there on top of the building there, and you see this prickle bush, and there's these tiny little prickles. Anybody seen that bush? Yeah, you go with Dinabandhu and he'll show it to you. And, they're sort of like scattered all over the parts. That's what Mother Yasoda was afraid of. So, and then the gopis were sort of afraid of actually putting Krishna's lotus feet on their breasts because, they were so soft, they thought that their hard breasts would damage his feet. And then, of course, Mother Yasoda come up with the idea, okay, we'll put some shoes on your feet. And Krishna rejected that. He said, "Oh, well, you've got to put shoes on 900,000 cows as well." And you think that's actually all right, that's really good, but then you think about the logic of it. Like cows have already got hooves, right? This is my take, right? Cows have already got hooves. They don't need shoes, but Krishna used that as a sort of like a parry that he didn't want shoes. So I was thinking of another reason why Krishna didn't want shoes, because he had all these beautiful symbols on the bottom of his feet. So wherever he went through Vrindavan, in the dust of Vrindavan, you would see Krishna's little, prints there with all the flag and the goat and the lotus and everything there on the bottom of his feet. And you would be in ecstasy because you saw Krishna walk here. And that was the example given of Akrura when he left Mathura to come to Vrindavan, and as soon as he came to Vrindavan, he looked at the dirt and he saw Krishna's lotus feet, prints of his lotus feet everywhere, and he got down off his chariot and paid his obeisances and rolled in the dust, as we like to do sometimes in the dust of Vrindavan when we find some nice, good, clean dust. So that's the softness of Krishna's lotus feet. So the essence of all these verses here is that qualities of Krishna are so amazing that any one of our senses that come into contact with the Lord, it's like just a single drop of nectar of the sort of ecstasy that we feel can plunge us into an ocean of love of Godhead. So that is that is the state of consciousness that we are trying to achieve. This is given to us also through the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which was elaborately described here in the purport. And the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was written by Rupa Goswami. Thank you very much. So I've got a story about Rupa Goswami here just to sort of bring it down, bring it down a little bit, as they say. So Rupa, he wanted to... Sanatan was coming, so Rupa was living in a bhajan kuti, right? I think you've heard this story before, but it's a really nice story. So he's living in his bhajan kuti, and he wanted to cook some sweet rice for Sanatan, right, his brother. Now, thinking about that again, because I heard it was Sanatan's birthday, and I'm sure it would have been, because why would Rupa want to make sweet rice for his brother, who was the most austere, one of the most austere Goswamis, and they were very, very careful in what they ate. But he wanted to make him sweet rice, right? Must have been his birthday, so he's meditating like that. Don't forget we're in Vrindavan, and the Kalpavriksha trees are pretty close. So he's meditating on making some sweet rice for his brother, and all of a sudden there's a knock on his bhajan kuti. And he goes, Sanatan, Sanatan, open the door. So he opens the door, and there's this beautiful little cowherd girl there saying, I want you to take this rice and milk and sugar there. Somebody sort of gave it to me to give it to you, right? And he thought, wow, that's perfect for sweet rice. He said, thank you, little girl. Look, I'll just put them over there. You sit over here. She said, oh, no, I've got things to do. And she disappears, right? So here he is. He's got all the ingredients. So he makes this really beautiful sweet rice. And then he offers it to his deity, which is Govinda. His Govinda deity. Right? So he offers it to Govinda, and then Sanatan comes. And then he offers it to Sanatan. They sit down and start eating the sweet rice. Immediately they're plunged into ecstasy. They're just totally, beside themselves in ecstasy. Sanatan's going, where'd you get all these ingredients from to make such good sweet rice? He said, oh, this lovely little girl came and knocked on the door and gave it to me. He goes, what? That was Radharani. You took service from Radharani. We're not meant to do that. We're meant to serve Radharani. How is it? So they were lamenting, and they're eating the sweet rice, and they're just completely ecstatic, got ecstatic symptoms of love of Godhead. So that was the mood of the Goswamis. So we also have a very, very beautiful prayer to the Goswamis that was given to us by Srinivas. We used to sing it a lot in the old days, the Sad Goswami prayers. The first verse is particularly beautiful. Krishna kirtana ganana paraparo premamranto punidi dir jana priyo priyakro nirmatsaro pujito Shri Caitanya kripa bhava bhavo bharantarako vande rupa sanatana yugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. We used to sing at least once a week. It's beautiful. It's by Srinivas, right? And this particular verse translated goes, I offer my obeisances to the 6 Goswamis who are always engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and dancing. Thus they are just like the ocean of love of Godhead, and they're popular with both the gentle and with the ruffians because they're not envious of anyone. Whatever they do is pleasing to everyone, and they're fully blessed by Lord Caitanya. Thus they engage in missionary activities meant to deliver all the conditioned souls in the material universe. So always chanting Krishna Kirtan, chanting the glories of Krishna. So we follow in the footsteps of the Goswamis, particularly with the Rupa we're in the sort of, we call the Rupa Nugas. So in that sort of vein of hearing and dancing and chanting the holy names of the Lord. So I have to move on a little bit quick. I'm running out of time. But I just wanted to come to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, to Lord Brahma's prayers from the Brahma Samhita, where my favourite prayer is Pramanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochayena Shantasha Rida. Yes, Vilochayanti Yam Sham Sundaram Guna Chincha Sarupam Govindamari Pusham Tamaham Bhajami. So it says, I worship Govinda, primeval Lord, who is Syama Sundara, it's Krishna himself. Primeval Lord, that means before anybody come, before anything, right? The Samasundra Krishna, inconceivable, innumerable attributes whom the pure devotees see in the heart of hearts with the eye of love, tinged with the salve of devotion. So this is the devotees seeing the Lord. This is all leading to us in that process of bhakti, trying to sort of see the Lord. So it begins with the hearing and chanting. And here it mentions seeing the Lord with Bhakti Vilochena. It's the eyes of devotion. So, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj gives the purport. There's a very, very elaborate purport. And in it he says that the form of Krishna, form of Shyamasundara, is not the blue colour visible to the mundane world. Does anybody remember that in the purport? It's not the blue colour in the mundane world. Translated that when people come and see the deity, they say, oh, Krishna's black. It's sort of like they just see this black, or they see a bluish black, or somebody say, he's the colour of a monsoon cloud, right? So we're trying to compare all these colours, right? Once again, we're using nature to sort of define Krishna. But actually, Krishna is beyond that. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj describes it as this transcendental, variegated colour, affording eternal bliss and is not visible to the mortal eye. So Krishna's colour is described to be like a shimmering hue, blackish blue, grey colour, and that spectrum is not actually visible to our mortal eye, but it can become visible through the process of bhakti yoga where we can see Krishna in our mind's eye. So to help us with this, we have our ninefold process, which we know begins with hearing and chanting, and then remembering Krishna, and also worshipping the deity. That's another process on the altar. So this is a very part and parcel, integral process where we greet Krishna enthusiastically every morning, and we see all the process of bhakti that evolves. The pujaris have bathed the deities, they've changed their clothes, given them fresh garlands, backdrops, incense, and offered prasadam to the deities. And the devotees begin to chant the glories of the deities with the Govindam prayers and all the different mantras that we sing, Hare Krishna mantra. And this helps us to get to that platform, get closer to the platform of Bhakti Vilochayana, that we see Krishna with the eyes tinged with the salve of love, because Krishna's emanating, because of all this worship there's this sort of spirit of devotion that is coming from the altar, which is saturating for those people who want to imbibe that mood. So that is a spiritual place. This is why temples like this are places of pilgrimage. This is why people come to get surcharged with spiritual ecstasy. So this helps us, seeing the deities helps us to experience the transcendental bliss throughout the day, and also makes us want to follow the rest of the ninefold process of yoga, serving Krishna, offering prayers, remembering the pastimes of Krishna, very important, and then surrendering all of our material desires and trading them in for pure thoughts of bhakti. So just like in the Bhagavad Gita, it's described, Machita 10.9. Who knows 10.9? Machita, Machita, Prana. You guys are amazing. The thoughts of my devotees dwell in me, their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss in lighting one another, conversing about me. That's what we do. Chant that, it's happy, and take prasadam. Thank you very much. Jai. Any questions or comments? Yes. Ravel, yeah, Ravel. No, they're just the thorn bushes. They're there for a purpose. They're in the spiritual world. No, there's no demons in the spiritual world. There's only the hint of demons. So, so they're there for a purpose. Thorns are there for, maybe they've got beautiful flowers. I don't know. But Madhya Soda was certainly afraid of them. So would have everybody else been if you get them many feet. Okay, Jai, all glories to Srila. Oh, yeah, go on, sorry.
It's mentioned that there's three things in the Dharma that keep focus away from entering. So
maybe you can repeat that again. We've got the microphone here.
So it's mentioned that there's 3 things in the Dham that keep faithless people away. One of them is salty water. The other is the shrill voices of men. And the third one are thorns.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
faithless people come and they get turned off. How can this be the Dham? So the salty water, like Vrindavan, you get a lot of, some sweet water and some salty water. So that's fairly obvious, and thorns as well. If you do Braj Mandal Prikrama barefoot, you get a lot of thorns.
You get a lot of thorns. I've never done it barefoot. I'll take your
Okay.
word for it.
But I always wondered about the shrill voice of men. I mean, I was trying to understand that. Years ago, I was at Perth. We were catering at a multicultural festival at a university. And the MC, he was an Indian student, and his voice was so shrill, it was annoying. And I thought, yes, I know what that means now.
Bellows of a blacksmith. Okay, thank you.
Jagatarini mentioned in one class, so she didn't give a reference.
Jai, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.